The sky above the colony was black. Smoke rose from every corner. Fires burned quietly. Buildings were broken. Ships lay in pieces, scattered like toys. Dead bodies, both human and alien, covered the ground. A team of Earth's elite soldiers landed on the ruined colony. Their boots hit the dust with sharp thuds. They moved slowly, weapons ready, eyes scanning everything. "Keep your eyes open," said Commander Holt, the team leader. "We don't know if they're still here." The soldiers split into pairs, checking corners, broken rooms and wrecked ships. The air smelled like blood, smoke, and melted metal. The place had been attacked recently. No survivors were expected. Then Sergeant Vale raised his hand. "Commander, I hear something." Everyone stopped. From inside a broken building, a small sound came, crying, very soft, almost like a whisper. The team moved closer, carefully, their weapons aimed at the doorway. Inside, sitting in the middle of the floor, was a little girl. She looked no more than 6 years old. Her clothes were torn, her face was covered in dirt, but her eyes, they were not afraid. She looked at the soldiers one by one, saying nothing. Her eyes were sharp, cold, watching. "Put your weapons down," Holt ordered. "She's just a child." Vale stepped forward and knelt beside her. "Hey there, little one. What's your name?" The girl didn't answer. She looked at him, head tilted slightly. Then something strange happened. When Vale moved his hand to adjust his shoulder strap, the girl copied him. Perfectly. Same angle, same speed. Vale frowned. He tried another move, a basic combat stance. The girl copied again, exact, no delay. "Commander," he said slowly, "this kid, she's watching us like we're a training video." Holt stepped forward. "She's not scared. Look at her posture. That's not a normal child." Another soldier scanned the room. "We found 2 adult bodies near the entrance, civilian clothes, likely her parents." Vale stood and looked back at the girl. She must have seen the whole thing. The aliens came, killed everyone, and she just sat here. "She's in shock," one soldier said. "No," Holt said. "This is something else." The girl finally spoke. Her voice was small but clear. They screamed, the aliens killed them, then they laughed. The team went silent. "Why didn't they take you?" Holt asked. The girl turned her head slightly. "I stayed still. I copied the ones who died fast. I made my face like theirs." She looked straight into Holt's eyes. I didn't want to scream. Back on the ship, the girl sat quietly in the corner. She had no family left, no name records. The soldiers called her Aria. On the way to Earth, she watched everything. How the soldiers cleaned their weapons, how they stood, how they gave orders. Every small detail she memorized. At the secret Earth military base, Fort Black, she was given a room. Medical checks said she was healthy, no injuries, no signs of fear or trauma. Just silence. She didn't cry. She didn't ask for toys or food. She only asked one question. "Can I watch your training?" At first, the officers said no. But Commander Holt made a quiet request. Let her watch, just observe, nothing more. She sat in the corner of the training hall every day, still watching. 1 week later, during a hand-to-hand combat drill, something shocking happened. The soldiers were practicing takedowns. One of them laughed and said, "Let's see what the kid thinks." He invited her to the mat just for fun. Arya stepped forward. She looked up at the tall soldier. No fear. He tried a slow move to push her back gently. But before he could touch her, Arya spun around, dropped to the ground, and kicked his leg. He fell, hard. Everyone froze. Arya stood still. She said nothing, then returned to the corner and sat down again. Later that night, Holt walked into the armory. Arya was there. She was staring at the wall of weapons. "Looking for something?" he asked. She turned and pointed. "That one." It was a standard blaster rifle, too heavy for a child. He took it down and handed it to her, expecting her to drop it. But she didn't. She held it perfectly, both hands in the correct position, her body balanced, finger off the trigger. Holt's face turned serious. "Where? Did you learn that?" Arya looked up at him. I watched. And then, very quietly, she added, I want to be like you. At Fort Black, the rules were strict. No one without training was allowed near weapons or drills. But Arya was different. Everyone could see it. She didn't cry, she didn't play, she didn't ask questions like other children. She watched, she learned. She copied. Commander Holt stood in the control room, watching Arya on the training floor. She was only 7, but already faster than some adults. No one trained her. Not yet. She simply watched the soldiers and practiced alone at night. 1. Evening. Sergeant Vale walked into the gym late after a mission. He expected the place to be empty. Instead, he found Arya, alone, doing push-ups, slow and perfect. Then she started shadowboxing, copying the moves of one of the Earth's elite fighters. Vale didn't stop her. He sat on a bench and just watched. The next morning he told Commander Holt, she trains herself harder than our cadets, and she never complains. Soon, the soldiers began to help her secretly. They didn't teach her like a student. They trained her like a recruit. One soldier taught her how to balance on one foot while firing. Another showed her how to hide in shadows without being seen. A pilot taught her to recognize ship sounds by ear. She passed every test they threw at her, even ones meant for adults. By the time she turned 10, Arya could disarm a soldier twice her size in under 6 seconds. But she still didn't laugh. Still didn't smile. Only one place made her face soften. A small wall inside Fort Black. On it were pictures of every soldier who had died in combat. Her parents weren't there, but she stood before the wall every morning, silently. Commander. Holt noticed. Do you know why we hang their pictures here? He asked her one day. To remember them, she said. So they don't disappear. Holt nodded. You'll never disappear either, Arya. You're one of us now. At 13, she was given her first simulation mission, inside a VR battlefield. She led a team through an alien city. Her squad was made of digital soldiers. The mission, rescue a hostage and escape. The instructors expected her to fail. The mission was meant for adults. Instead, she completed it in 11 minutes. No friendly losses, enemies neutralized. She even found a back door the designers didn't know existed. After the test, she removed the headset and said, it was too easy. The instructors looked at each other. This girl wasn't normal. She was becoming something else. But not everyone at Fort Black supported her growth. Some commanders thought she was dangerous. She's too young, too skilled. And she doesn't feel like a child, said one officer. She's Earth's weapon, Holt replied. We didn't create her. We just didn't waste her. At age 16, Arya stood at the center of the training yard. She was now taller, stronger, and faster. Her hair was cut short like a soldier's. Her hands were scarred, her eyes still sharp and quiet. This time she was facing 3 soldiers at once in hand-to-hand combat. Real ones, no simulations. They circled her, watching, waiting. Then one lunged. Arya ducked, twisted, and slammed him to the ground. The second came in swinging. She blocked, swept his legs, and threw him into the third. 30 seconds later, all 3 were on the ground, breathing hard, groaning. She didn't even break a sweat. The crowd clapped. Some even cheered. But Arya didn't smile. She walked away, silently. That night, Vale sat beside her on the rooftop of Fort Black. Do you ever think about your parents? He asked softly. Arya stared at the stars. I remember their faces, their voices. I remember how they died. Vale nodded. Do you fight for them? No, she said. I fight for the ones still alive. She looked at him. I want to stop the screams, the ones I heard as a child. Vale said nothing. He just placed his hand gently on her shoulder. You're ready, he finally said. Soon you'll leave Fort Black. Arya asked. Where will I go? Vale answered. Where Earth needs you most. But none of them knew that her first mission would change everything, and the aliens who once destroyed her world were about to meet the weapon they accidentally created. The sky above Colony 9 was quiet. Too quiet. No signals, no distress beacons. Just silence. Commander Holt stood in the war room at Fort Black. A blinking red dot marked the colony on the outer rim. The colony missed 3 reports, he said. No messages, no signs of life. We're sending a recon team. Beside him, Arya stood in full black armor, not simulation gear, real armor, real weapons. She didn't speak. She just nodded. This would be her first mission in real space. Her first time stepping onto a battlefield that wasn't built from light and code. You'll move with Echo Squad, Holt said. Don't try to be a hero. Watch, learn, survive. Arya met his eyes. I won't need to try. The dropship roared through space. Inside, the team sat silently. Echo Squad was one of Earth's elite. All eyes kept sliding toward Arya. Some of them had heard stories. Others had trained beside her. None had fought with her. Sergeant Cray, the squad leader, looked her over. You ever seen a battlefield, girl? Arya replied simply. I was born on one, Cray grunted. We'll see if that helps. The ship landed just outside Colony 9. The place was a graveyard, burned out homes, shattered glass, silence louder than bombs, no bodies, no fire, just empty streets. They cleaned up, Cray whispered. Aliens don't usually do that. Arya scanned the rooftops. Her ears picked up a strange hum. Faint, distant, like energy pulsing through the air. They moved forward, rifles raised, step by step. A sound snapped the silence. Clink. A can rolled from the shadows. Nothing followed. Then, metal screeched. 2. Late ambush. Aliens dropped from rooftops, crawling out of the ground like insects, screaming in their guttural language. Weapons charged. One soldier screamed before his body was torn apart. Another tried to run but was shot in the back. The squad broke formation. Confusion. Fear. Cray shouted, Form up! Get to cover! But Arya didn't move. She stood still, her eyes scanning every attacker. Then she ran toward the aliens. Her blaster fired clean, sharp bursts. Each shot hit a weak point. Head, neck, heart. She rolled under a plasma shot, came up behind the shooter and snapped its neck with her bare hands. Cray saw her cut through the enemy line like fire through dry leaves. She wasn't human. Not anymore. She was faster, smarter, deadlier. Fall back, he yelled. Let her lead. In under 5 minutes, the battlefield was silent again. Alien bodies were stacked in alleys, on roofs, in the dust. Echo Squad had lost 3 soldiers, but Arya had killed 12 aliens alone. She stood in the middle of the street, breathing hard. Her armor was scratched. Her eyes calm. Cray walked over slowly. You okay? Arya nodded. This wasn't a raid. Cray frowned. What do you mean? She knelt beside one of the alien corpses and pulled out a small device. Look, she said. They were recording everything, studying how we fight, Cray cursed. They weren't here to take the colony. They were testing Earth's response. Arya stood. Then I hope they recorded all of it. Back on the dropship, the remaining squad members sat in silence. One soldier whispered, She's not human. Another said, She saved us all. When they landed back at Fort Black, Commander Holt was waiting. Arya stepped off the ramp, helmet under her arm. Report? Holt asked. She looked him straight in the eyes. They came to study. I taught them something. He smiled for the first time in months. That night, a message was sent from an alien warship deep in the galaxy. A voice spoke in fear. We faced a human weapon. Not machine, not clone. A girl. Alone. She is death. The message was sent across enemy channels. A warning. Word spread fast. The mission on Colony 9 was supposed to be quiet, just a recon. But instead, it became a legend. Aliens who saw her didn't live to speak. But the recordings survived. Short clips. A girl in black armor, moving like a shadow, firing with perfect aim, walking through fire and dust without fear. They called her the ghost of Fort Black. Some alien commanders refused to believe it. It's just human propaganda, they said. but their soldiers believed. And they were afraid. Inside Fort Black, Arya trained harder than ever. Commander Holt noticed it. She didn't talk much after the mission. She spent long hours in the simulator, studying alien tactics, replaying the ambush again and again. One day, Sergeant Vale found her in the shooting range. The targets were moving fast, zigzagging, flying, hiding. Arya shot each one with calm precision. Vale leaned on the wall. "They're scared of you now, you know." "I want them to be," Arya said quietly. He walked closer. "Why? You already won. You saved Echo Squad." She looked at him. Her voice was soft but cold. "They're changing, getting smarter. Next time they'll send more. Next time they'll come for Earth." Vale nodded slowly. "So you're preparing?" "I'm evolving." Meanwhile, on the edge of the galaxy, alien fleets began changing plans. One admiral said, "Send more units to Earth's colonies." Another replied, "Not yet, not while the ghost lives." Some soldiers even refused to land if scans picked up a single human signal. Fear had spread. And it had a name, Arya. Back on Earth, Arya stood before the High Council of Military Commanders. She wore her armor, but her helmet was off. Her face was young, but her eyes were older than any soldier in the room. A general spoke. "You're not officially part of any unit, but your performance speaks for itself." Another asked, "Do you want a rank, a team, a command?" Arya thought for a moment. "I want clearance," she said. "To go behind enemy lines, alone." There was silence. "Why alone?" someone asked. Arya stepped forward. "They're watching us, studying our ships, our armies, but they're not. Ready for someone like me? Let me move in shadows, let me hunt." Holt stood at the back, listening. He said nothing, but inside he was proud and worried. Permission was granted, and so began the silent missions. No news, no medals, no records. But the results were loud. Alien outposts went dark. Weapons factories exploded. Supply ships vanished. No witnesses. Only a mark left behind. A burned symbol on the wall of every destroyed site. A single black A the ghost had passed through. Inside alien command ships, fear turned to panic. "She's not a soldier," one alien whispered. "She's a curse. She moves without ships. She walks through walls." They started pulling back from key colonies, just in case. Back at Fort Black, Holt watched the reports. He knew Arya was winning, but he also knew what war does to young minds. He called her back one day after a long mission. She arrived silent, armor scratched, eyes tired. "You've done more damage alone than some fleets," Holt said. "But I have to ask, are you okay?" Arya looked out the window. "I don't sleep anymore," she said. "When I close my eyes, I see fire, screams, my mother's face." Holt sighed. "You don't have to keep doing this." She turned. To him, "Yes, I do." Later that night, in a quiet alien base far from Earth, a message was intercepted. "There is a ghost in the dark. She was made by humans, trained by warriors and born in fire. She has no mercy. If you see her, run!" But not all humans were loyal. Inside Earth's command circle, whispers began to rise. Some said Arya was too powerful. Others feared what she might do if she turned. One voice spoke in secret. "We created a weapon without a switch. One day, we might need to shut her down." What they didn't know was that Arya was already listening. Arya stood alone in the war room. The lights were low, the air was quiet. Too quiet. She stared at the large screen showing enemy fleet movements. But her mind wasn't on the war outside, it was on the war inside. She had heard it. A voice, a whisper. "She's too dangerous. What if she turns on us?" Not from an alien, from Earth's own command. Earlier that week, she returned from a deep strike mission on an alien moon. The base was destroyed. No survivors. Her armor was scorched. Her shoulder wounded. She expected a hero's welcome. Instead, she was told to report to medical, then stay in her quarters. No debrief, no mission report. Strange. Even stranger, her door wouldn't open the next morning. Inside Fort Black, Sergeant Vale paced the hallway. He had heard something disturbing. 2. High-ranking officers were talking about Arya. In past tense. She was useful, but now she's a threat. Vale rushed to Commander Holt's office. She's locked in, he said. Something's wrong. Holt stood up slowly. Get her out, quietly, now. Arya didn't panic. She sat, calmly in her dark room, eyes closed, listening, breathing, then click. Her door opened. Vale stepped inside quickly. No time to explain. Come with me. She grabbed her gear without a word. They moved through the back tunnels of Fort Black, built long ago for emergencies. As they moved, Vale whispered, "They think you've gone too far. They're scared of you." Arya nodded. They should be. They reached Holt's office. He was waiting with a datapad. "I don't have long," he said. "Listen carefully." He showed her a file marked Blackout Protocol. Inside were secret orders. If Arya was ever considered unstable or disobedient, terminate her immediately, signed by 3 generals, approved by Earth Command. She read the file silently, then looked. "So I'm not a soldier anymore," she said. "I'm a target." "No," Holt said. "You're still the best thing Earth has, but power scares people." Vale stepped forward. "We can wipe the file. Erase it." Arya shook her head. "No. I want them to know. I read it." The next day, the base alarms rang. Not because of an attack. Because Arya had walked into the main command hall. Alone, fully armed, armor shining black. Officers froze. Guards raised their weapons. She walked straight to the generals who had signed. The file. She dropped the datapad on the table. "I saw your plan," she said. No one spoke. Then she pointed to the screen behind them. It showed an alien fleet moving toward Earth's border. "You want me gone? Do it now, or let me do what I was made for." The silence broke. General Rise stood. "You're out of control," Arya replied, calm and cold. "I'm the reason. Earth is still standing." Suddenly, a voice shouted from the doorway. It was Holt. "She's not the problem," he said. "She's the answer." He tossed another datapad on the table. It showed recordings from the alien fleet. They had started copying human tactics. Earth was losing its advantage. "We need someone who adapts. Someone who makes them afraid again." The high room stayed silent. Then one general slowly said, "We never meant to hurt you, Arya." Arya turned and walked away. As she left, she spoke one sentence. "Next time you plan to kill me, don't write it down." Back in her quarters, Arya sat. With her weapon on her lap, she didn't sleep, she didn't blink. For the first time in her life. She didn't know who the real enemy was, but one thing was clear. If Earth's leaders feared her more than the aliens, then she had a new mission: protect Earth, even from itself. That same night, far beyond Earth systems, the alien High Council met. One commander showed a report. "Earth's strongest weapon is breaking apart from the inside." Another smiled. "Let them destroy their own ghost." But deep in the shadows, another alien voice said something else. "If the ghost survives, the galaxy burns." The stars. Outside Fort Black were unusually still. Inside, Commander Holt stood at the command table, staring at a new transmission. It was marked Code Red, highest level. A massive alien fleet was moving straight toward Earth itself. Not a colony. Not a station. Home. And this time, there were no tests, no tricks, no warnings. It was a full invasion. Arya sat alone in the training room, sharpening the edge of her combat blade. She already knew. She had felt it, like a storm building in her chest. Holt entered quietly. He held a small black cube in his hand. "This just came in," he said. "Earth Command's last order." Arya didn't look up. "Let me guess. Stay out of it." Holt shook his head. "No. They want you to lead." That made her pause. "They're desperate," she said. He nodded. "Yes, and they should be." Arya stood and took the cube. "Then I'll do it my way." 2 hours later, a message went out across Earth's networks. A short, simple video. Arya stood in her black armor, face uncovered. She looked straight into the camera. "This is not a war. This is survival. They want to burn our planet. Erase our history and kill our people. I won't let them. I was trained to destroy, now I will protect. To every soldier, every pilot, every fighter, stand with me. We fight as one. And finally, if this is the end, then let them remember who we are. The message lit up every screen on Earth. Millions watched. Millions stood up. Humanity was ready. The alien fleet arrived in Earth's orbit like a black cloud. Thousands of ships, war machines bigger than cities. Inside one alien command ship, the enemy admiral gave his final speech. The humans are broken. Their leaders are divided. Their weapon is alone. Today, Earth dies. But then he saw it. From the surface of Earth, a new fleet rose. Human ships, fast and sleek, and leading them was a single dark ship, moving faster than the rest. It had no name, just a symbol painted on the side. A black A. The ghost had returned. In space, the battle exploded. Lasers cut across the void. Ships collided. Fire and metal danced through. The stars. Arya's ship tore through the enemy like a knife. She didn't give orders, she gave pain. Every blast she fired hit a weak point. Every move she made confused the enemy. She moved like she could see the future. The alien admiral screamed, "Destroy that ship!" But it was too late. Arya had already broken through. She landed on the enemy command ship alone. No backup, no help. Just her blade and her rage. She cut through guards like they were paper. Inside the control room, she faced the admiral. He was huge, armored, armed. You are not human," he hissed. Arya raised her blade. "I'm worse." Their fight was brutal. Metal clashed. Blood spilled. But in the end, Arya stood over the admiral's broken body. "You should have stayed in the dark," she whispered. Then she drove the blade through his chest. Back on Earth, the alien fleet began to fall apart. Without command, they scattered. Some tried to escape. Others surrendered. Earth had survived. Because of her. Hours later, Arya stood before a crowd in Earth's capital, not as a weapon, not as a ghost, but as a hero. The president stepped forward. "You saved us all." But Arya didn't smile. "I didn't. Do it alone," she said. "I'm just the one they feared most." She looked into the cameras again. "This isn't over. There will be others. So train harder. Think smarter. Never wait for a hero. Be your own." Then she walked off the stage. No medals, no praise, just silence. Some say she vanished after that, others say she still watches from the shadows, ready to fight if Earth ever needs her again. But in every training camp, on every colony, one name is whispered with awe and fear. The ghost of Fort Black. And the aliens? They never attacked Earth again, because they knew. She was still out there. Years passed. The war was over. The skies above Earth were calm again. The alien fleets never returned. No more colonies were lost. No more cities burned. But one question remained. Where did Arya go? Some believed she died in the final battle. Others said she left the galaxy. But those who had fought beside her knew the truth. Legends don't die. They become something more. Inside Fort Black, now turned into a training academy, a new class of soldiers stood in formation. Young, determined. Afraid. Commander Holt, now old and gray, walked past them. He stopped before a wall covered in names, names of heroes who had died to protect Earth. But above them all was one name alone, written in bold black letters, Arya, and beside it, a symbol. A sharp A carved into metal in the training yard. One young cadet struggled to land punches on a combat bot. She was frustrated, tired. Suddenly, a calm voice spoke behind her. "You're swinging with anger, not control." The cadet turned. A tall figure in a black cloak stood. There, her eyes widened. You're her." The woman smiled just a little. "Keep your feet grounded. Use the enemy's weight against them." The cadet blinked. "Are you really Arya?" The woman paused. "I was. Now I'm just a teacher." In the years that followed, no one saw her again in public. But stories began to spread. A colony on the edge of space said a strange woman appeared during a pirate attack, took down 10 raiders with no weapons. A fleet captain claimed his ship was rescued by a lone black fighter, too fast for scanners to catch, and in every story, she left behind the same mark, a single black A. Back on Earth, Sergeant Vale stood before a class of cadets. He pointed to the stars above. You see peace now, but it came at a cost. One girl gave everything, her childhood, her future, her name. He paused. She was born in a war zone, raised by elite soldiers, trained by pain, forged by fire. And what did she become? A cadet asked. Vale looked them all in the eye. She became the reason Earth still exists. Some nights, Commander Holt would look out the window of Fort Black and wonder, did we do the right thing, he would ask himself. Was she a weapon or a savior? But deep down, he knew she had been both, because Earth didn't need perfection. It needed someone willing to walk through the fire first. In alien history books, the humans were feared for one reason, not for their ships, not for their armies, but for her. They had a name for her in their language. Translated, it meant the shadow that burns. It became a warning. Do not wake the ghost. Many years later, long after Holt had passed and Fort Black became a monument, a child found a small metal cube buried under a stone near the base. He pressed the button. A message played. It was Arya's voice, older, softer, but strong. If you're hearing this, I am gone. I was never meant to be a hero. I was built to survive. But if you choose to fight, remember this. It's not strength that wins wars. It's the will to protect what you love. The message ended. The screen went dark, but the fire it lit never faded. And so her legend lived on, not as a ghost, not as a weapon, but as a symbol of fear to the enemy, of hope to the weak, of what one human can become when they refuse to break.